Yo peeps, summer is over. I hope you've had a great summer. For me, this marks the halfway point of 2020, which has been a really tough year. It's been humbling and hopefully it's been unique. As we turn the corner, I think this is a great opportunity to reflect and to think. And for me personally, it's been an opportunity to think about all of my learnings over the years in general, but in particular about being an entrepreneur. So what I thought we would do here today is share the top 5 tips that I have for you in terms of my learnings when it comes to being an entrepreneur. So without further ado, let's kick things off. Tip number 1, you need to own your own endorphins. And more specifically, you need to own your own happiness. Understand what makes you happy and optimize for that. It can be big things and small things. For me, when I have a tough problem and I need to crack it, I always put on my run gear because I know when I go for a run, that's when I find my happy place. That's when my endorphins start to kick in, that's when my pulse goes up, that's when my blood starts to pump. And there's almost like a moment where I can feel myself get smarter or at least more inspired. I always have a pen and a piece of paper in here, so I stop and I'm sweaty and shit and I just write stuff down. That's how I crack things. But you can also do it like structurally. In the mornings, I'm bad. I put my meetings in the afternoon. Towards the end of the week, I'm better than the beginning. Everyone has individual ways of how they work or don't work. Lean into that and understand and put yourself in a position where you make yourself more successful by optimizing for how you actually work. So tip number 2 is be different. But be very different. You need to put yourself in a context where who you are and what you do is different from everyone else. I found myself in a context where I was very similar to everyone else. And not only was the output less, but also my contribution was less valued and I felt less happy about my work. When I took myself out of that context and put myself in a context where I was different, where I could add some value because what I knew was something different from what everyone else brought to the table, not only was the outcome way better, which is the obvious win, but even more important and more sort of life-changing for me was how I felt. I felt so much more appreciated. I felt so much more excited. I worked even harder because I knew I could bring something that nobody else could. So tip number 2, make sure you put yourself in a context where you're different because you get valued and again, you get really happy. Let's do tip number 3. Surround yourself with people who are way smarter than yourself. There's this great expression that I really come to love, and it goes something like, if you ever find yourself in a room where you're the smartest person, you're probably in the wrong room. I've always made it my number 1 mission to make sure to hire people who are way smarter than I am myself. There are surprisingly few things which I'm quite good at, and then there are remarkably many things which I'm terrible at. Finding people who just excel in different areas and getting to hire people who can tell me what to do as opposed to the opposite is by far one of the most important decisions that I've ever made, and hopefully that you will make too. So that brings us to tip number 4. Which is protect your mojo. Now look, everyone has a superpower. I'm definitely not the smartest guy in the room. I'm never the fittest guy in the room, but odds are I'm the most optimistic person in the room. Heck, I even have a nickname in Swedish which means the optimist. That's always been my superpower, but it's not always the case that my superpower is doing really well. I have to cherish my superpower and look after it with a vengeance. I take care of it, I feed it, I nourish it, I make sure that I put myself in situations where I get to be optimistic or understand the optimism of a situation and reflect on it. I know the power of being able to bring that to a meeting, to a decision, to a tough period of time. Heck, not in the least the last half year, which has been incredibly tough. Everyone has a superpower and they're all different, but you need to find it and hone in on it. Don't spend time on the stuff that you suck at. Odds are that there are tons of things that you're never going to be a superstar around. Just let someone else handle that. Find that one thing that you do really well and supercharge it. Really focus on it. Odds are that that's going to have a much better and a much more important impact on your company, your career, and again, on your happiness. Find your mojo and protect it with a vengeance. Let's go to tip number 5. So here we are, tip number 5, and it goes like this. Take your work seriously, but don't take yourself seriously. There's a huge difference. Everyone should feel really proud and feel pride about what they do. But yourself as an individual, you got to make sure you laugh. Soundtrack to one. Yeah! Toilet, I have used very, very many times. Every single person who worked at it, fan vad heter de nu då? Cut, that's enough. As an entrepreneur, the hours are going to be long, the obstacles are going to be huge. You have to make sure it's fun. You have to make sure it's fun for yourself, but also for your environment. When we started Epidemic almost 12 years ago now, the co-founders had as a specific goal to laugh really hard at least one time per day. And we would always crack jokes on our own expense, not on other people's expense. So take it from me, it's going to be a long, long run, and make sure that you laugh along the way. Don't take yourself too seriously. Me, I never do, so I'm probably going to think about starting a fitness blog after this. That's not really a great idea, but I'm going to try anyway. I've run a lot of tips, so please hit me up in the comments below and share your greatest tips so that I can pass them on to everyone at Epidemic. I've run out of ideas. I'm going to run home. Catch you later.